Here we go. One more. End of the week. You've made it. I've made it. Glad to have you here. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God. And tonight's a Friday chill stream, which is a time where I put away the deacon, the church, a lot of the um, Christian overall discussion, and we just talk about whatever. So, um, if you're moseying into the chat, welcome, and how is it going, everybody? We have it's been quiet getting folks into the chat. Everybody's been kind of slow this week coming in. Nope. Oh, okay. Nico, I thought we had a new viewer, and then you just broke my heart by showing me that you just have more than one account. Doxed. It's okay. I've got more than one myself. Let's see. I'm trying to even this out. Not been late. Been late like twice. I look, it's different, guys, when I get into the chat and no one's there chatting beforehand or saying first, second, or whether this is what normally happens, then I feel like nobody's there. And so then I start. So, but welcome to the chat, Nico, Nernath. Maybe we'll have a discussion about pronouncing words correctly in the South while I play a Lear, not a liar. Starting off slow, guys. But we can talk about the main. There's Blaine. Blaine, you should have a DM. So start off with the topic on the title because I was looking for something and I was giving somebody a bunch of grief. It's Cyberpunk's got a new show out on Netflix, and I don't know how into cartoons you guys are, but I dabble. I dabble just a bit. I like watching. I like getting into a good story. Sometimes I even like getting into a cheesy story. In fact, oftentimes I enjoy getting into a cheesy story. Don't care, just as long as it's fun and entertaining. And that ultimately, with the way of all the chatter going on about the Cyberpunk show, anime, cartoon, whatever you want to call it, led me to uh, talking about it here. Went and watched it for myself. Got it done in a couple of days. It's not a long series. I generally like uh, more drawn out storylines. I like a good immersive long storyline, but I don't want it too long. So, in my experience, oh, I'll get to that in a second, Renee. That's a good one. Um, um, I like a good long story with lots of things going on, and then but that wraps up well. The difference being, a lot of animes are, kind of mini series length. As long as like Cyberpunk 20 Edge Runners was, and it's 10 episodes, I think, versus you know other shows out there that run 4 or 5 seasons. My favorite TV show, maybe of all time, is Justified. That ran 7 seasons, and then wrapped up well. Started off well, had a couple of good story arcs, ended. Doesn't keep going on and on and on like NCIS or Law and Order in some of these. Uh, some of these other series. And me being a Tom Clancy fan, I wish they'd have just tied up the Jack Ryan series the way they should have, instead of drawing it out a little bit more than it has. So, Oh, okay. So anime in different anime. Okay. It's like sheep or deer, a deer or some deer. Yeah, anyway, okay. Internet, probably not YouTube friendly, but will your state require kids to be jabbed to go to school? I'm leaning towards the no, the negative. And I'm leaning towards it's probably not going to be popular in any state. So here's my I don't know what the CDC was thinking because they've already destroyed a lot of credit by the way that they handled the COOF. The way they handled the COOF the first time around, and with the shots and all the other stuff, it seems like they haven't engendered a whole lot of goodwill from people. And then coming out with this, basically on the heels of admitting that a lot of the things that people were saying that they were trying to silence were as correct, is now part of what they say is truth. They're saying, oh, by the way, we want you to give your kids get all your kids COVID vaccinations. When there was a lot, that was like the line that most people were drawing it at. So before I get more into that, let me bring on a fellow member of the chat and who has his own YouTube channel, Blaine's Escape Corner. It's Blaine. How's it going, Blaine?
It's going well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Yeah. So you don't like short stuff typically?
Um, depends. I guess like I like a lot of content, but I don't like it like to the point where it's just drawn on too long. I like a full immersive story.
Right.
And sometimes, and I get it. A lot of people like the more fast and loose uh, movies, television shows, or whatever that just get into the story, make its point, and then wrap things up and get out of there.
Gotcha.
It's just never been my thing. I always want to know, well, what else was going on? What else is there? And
So like
sometimes,
I this is such an interesting just like blanket statement that I feel like you're just throwing out there. So I'm like I want to dive into it a bit, but like
yeah,
what
sure.
what then what's your favorite movie? Like when you go to the movies, are you looking for that Snyder cut 4 hours of just sit there in your seat movie, or are you looking for, a tight 70? Because like I I hate watching the Lord of the Rings extended editions. Not half of which because everyone I watch it with falls asleep in the first like 20 minutes, and I end up having to clean everything up and
I
put them all to
didn't.
bed.
All right. I was late in the game getting into Lord of the Rings. And the reason I got into Lord of the Rings was because of the movies.
Oh, okay.
It came on how old was I? 20, I think. It was over at my parents' house. And HBO was doing a run of the first two movies because the third movie was getting ready to release. So it might have been I was 19 or 20 at the time. And so I was like, oh, okay. I'd always heard about the Lord of the Rings, just vaguely, but never really sat down. I sat down. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like from the beginning to the end, like I was hooked. Right. So that's kind of the thing. But
Mm-hmm.
it also depends on the subject matter. Like Jurassic Park. I just want to see dinosaurs eat people and other dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's a
And in the
silly
right
happy fun.
context, maybe a human eating a dinosaur, right? Maybe hunt it down and eat it. We haven't seen that really in Jurassic Park yet, but or a shark, Jaws. Love to see it. Doesn't need to be complicated. Just go in there. There's a shark. It eats people. We're going to go out and hunt it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. I can deal with a short story there. But if I'm looking something to really captivate me and keep
Right.
me coming back, it's got to be pretty well fleshed out and comprehensive.
I think secretly the entire anime community agrees with you. And the reason you have this idea of like, oh, I know a lot of people like those shorts, those miniseries, the 10s, the 12s. is the way anime is produced is it's usually produced in what are called cours. It stands for quarter of a year. It's 12 episodes basically. So you get a 12 episode series guaranteed. You've got to be a high selling manga or long running series to get anything past that first 12. And so you'll have shows that they're basically banking on that first 12. Then you have the internet that's like, oh, I can only pay attention for 12 weeks and then I forget it exists entirely.
Yeah.
So when you have the start and end of a series that everybody can talk about and get really excited about, it's going to have so much more buzz around the internet compared to something where it's like Spy Family is amazing. Really, really good show. We had our first 12 episodes, then there was a break, and then now we're getting our second season, second core really. And it's starting to get more of that hype, but that's sort of that more long form story. But every time you end 12 episodes, you have no idea if you're getting another one.
It
You're
needs to
like,
wrap up. No, I
it's
like and
yeah.
and that's what it really seems because they're either short or they're very long. Like you look at the difference between, let's say, Cyberpunk,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know if it's going to continue. I figure it's probably going to at this point because like there's going to be more Cyberpunk coming out because of how successful it's been.
Yeah, the studio has confirmed that they are interested in doing more stories from the universe. But that's all they've really said so far.
Well, I mean, they kind of tied up pretty much everything at the end of that one. But like, what was I gonna say? But you've got like something like that that might be 10 episodes versus a Naruto or a Dragon Ball Z. We
Or
all know
Bleach.
like
Yeah.
Bleach, you know, a personal favorite of mine, and you see it just go all out.
Yep.
One thing that I really liked was Sword Art Online. And that was, but then it changes. It changes. I like in some ways that it changes into different environments and different settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was like, man, they had a really good thing going right there in that game. I feel like they could have drawn it out more, but you know, as long as they do a good job at least wrapping things up, I'm normally pretty pleased. I like the Cyberpunk show for the most part, but I just I felt like it was really like I saw the end coming
If you
from a
have
long
seen
while away, while he's away.
Yeah, if you've seen a movie, you saw that ending coming. Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like maybe if you grew up with like My Little Pony and you're like, "Oh, I want to watch a big kids show." Maybe you're surprised, but like if you've seen anything, you had to have seen this one coming. So,
Yeah,
I try never to hold that against a show. I do give it props though if I am watching something I'm like, "Oh, it's going to go this way," and then just all of a sudden like let's say main character is just gone and we're transitioning to something different. It's just nothing I thought was happening. Shows get huge props when that happens. Versus like, oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Let me tell you a story from 2000 years ago that probably has the same ending.
I was there 3,000 years. Yeah, I watched the movie John Carter, and I think I talked about this on the stream because I think some other people were throwing information about it on me, and I was like, man, this is a really good movie. Like I like the story and everything, but man, it's a lot of the same old same old. But come to find out, like the guy who wrote it before all these movies were made, and all those movies took the elements he put in his book into there.
Yeah.
And I thought
Well,
that was interesting. So that's probably going to be the next series I get into now that I'm going to finish up Musashi, which has been a great read so far. I might probably read
I love
Musashi's book, The Five Ring. What is it? The Book
the
of the
Book of the
Five
Five
Rings?
Rings. Yep.
Yeah. I'll probably read that, but then after that get into the John Carter
It's
novels.
it's such a better book for like tips and advice on how to like buck up and live your life than any motivational book that you'll find at any bookstore. It's like it's little things though. You're like reading it and it's like if you have two swords, draw both your swords. Don't die with one of your swords not drawn. If you're swinging one sword, swing it with both hands. Use your full power anytime you do something. And you're like, you know what? This is good lessons for life. I like this. I love that book. I love that whole thing.
Which one? The one.
The Five Rings.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
I've
Five
only
Rings.
read
Okay.
his writing. I haven't read about his life beyond like going through like Sasaki Kojiro and their fight, because like that's the guy who's like, I want a big ass sword, and he's just got like
He
an
does.
8-foot sword or something. It's
So he pops
crazy.
up about a third of the way into the book
Yeah,
of Musashi, and
and
he's
then
kind of in
disappears from the
there and
book
out.
shortly after.
Well, there's one part of the book, and this is about halfway through or so. Um, he runs into Kojiro. They've already had some interactions before, but he had just finished apparently talking with some of the locals, and they were discussing something that had happened. He had had one of his battles with some other Ronin.
Imagine a time period where you just be like, "Hey, you want to fight?" and then you just kill someone.
Like
Like
they just,
that's
dude, people
such a
look.
weird
It's
time
just, it's like
period.
and I know that apparently in Japan, their westerns they had samurai movies that are very similar to our westerns,
Yep.
spaghetti westerns and whatnot.
Well, a lot
And
of
it's
our westerns are modeled off of Akira Kurosawa's samurai movies, so it's funny. It goes both ways.
yeah, I mean, but it seems like it's very much the same thing. It's just like you had guys out in the old west dying over literally nothing. Just you pissed me off or whatever. You looked at me the wrong way. And the same thing. You said like the slightest thing that made me lose face, and now I'm ready to throw my life away for nothing
It's
over something.
one of my favorite scenes. So you're familiar, I'm guessing, with the Magnificent Seven, right?
Yes.
Yul Brenner leading 7
The
cowboys to help
original.
protect some farmers, right?
Yeah.
That was based off of a movie called Seven Samurai in Japan, where it's the same story but with samurai. There's also an anime which is a really good, like, let's take this movie and then go farther. If you like stuff that goes farther, you'd probably love it because it's like a 50 episode series and really good. But there's a scene in the beginning when they're trying to find hungry samurai because those are the only samurai that they can afford or ones that will work for cheap. And this guy, it's exactly like you say. It's like, oh, well, let's go duel out back. But they start out like they both like whack a couple pieces of bamboo into sticks, and they go and they do a fight, and the samurai like wins against the doof, and he's like, no, no, let's fight for real. And it's like, dude, you just lost in the stick battle, and now you're like, let's pull out the deadly weapons, and then he just gets killed because it's like, okay, cool, wham, and now he's dead. So it's like, why?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and you're like, what? Exactly. The big question is why. And I know that I didn't grow up in a place where I didn't grow up poverty stricken. I didn't grow up without means or anything. So I don't understand growing up where there is a sense of hopelessness, and maybe that you just all you have is your pride, and that the slightest the slightest hint that it's being threatened, you're ready to give everything up because it doesn't mean as much to you.
Yeah,
I
it's like your
guess.
Nath saying, right? Like people at Walmart or McD's chesting up, people kill for chicken or plastic.
Exactly.
I literally witnessed a guy shoot at a cop who was out in the street, just in his cop car from the gas station, just because he saw it and thought it was a threat, right? Like people, they get their pride, they get freaked out, they get all this kind of stuff, and it's just, humanity is messed up. It's really like, I don't understand people who think it's all circumstance based. Like, yeah, there's a nature versus nurture argument for how people deal with their problems. But there is too much evidence to me that people come out the womb with a problem. There's something that needs to get fixed.
I mean, I was that way like I've gotten into
You were
fist
shooting at
fights.
cops in the road?
No, I've never done that. I've never had any interaction with a cop that was that negative in nature. But I did have
You never been on the hood?
no, almost did.
Oh.
Which is weird because I grew up. I mean, I wanted to be a police officer from a very young age, and so when I was in high school, my dad got me connected with law enforcement explorers. I think Kyle
Oh, I'm
Rittenhouse is
familiar.
one too. Yeah,
I
you
had
kind
a
of that.
buddy when I worked at a gun shop that was an explorer.
Yeah, I mean, it was very cool as a kid. You do ride-alongs. We did building searches, SWAT. We got to hang out with SWAT. We got to do a whole lot of cool stuff that police officers do. Um, and at that point, I also determined I can't be a cop because I would never feel comfortable enough in a situation where you don't know, like just on a regular traffic stop, if the guy you're pulling over is out of his mind and just wants to kill people.
Mm.
And because of that, I'm going to assume everybody I pull over wants to do that. And that would probably be, I would probably be a very bad police officer and cause some issues. And
I was
to me, looking back, that seems like a really, really deep decision that I made, and I don't know how I made it then there at that point.
right.
But I mean,
Well, a basic state of fear. Like, I can tell you, I never wanted to be a cop because anytime I interacted with a cop, we got a speeding ticket that meant that our power was probably going to get shut off at the end of the month. So I was like, no, cops are baddies. They're just here no matter what. They're showing up and they're making your budget not work by forcing you to pay this stupid ticket because it's ticket or jail. You know, like at the end of the day, like they'll keep sending you stuff, and then you go to collections, all that stuff, and I always just hated that aspect of everything.
yeah,
Protection. Yeah,
mine came
I'm
from
for it.
I came from the opposite end. I came thinking all cops are good, and to realizing that no, they're not.
Yeah.
And that they're. It's just like in the military. You're like, oh, they're in an army. You're all heroes. I'm like, you don't know some of the people that I've worked with. I mean, I'm probably barely there.
I had a
I'm a decent human being, I guess, but
yeah. I
I
had a
learned
buddy.
I
Oh, I
learned
had
that
a
the
buddy in the
army
air
would take
guard.
they'll take anybody,
Yeah,
especially nowadays.
anybody. I had a
Anybody.
buddy in the air guard. Now he used to hate that because he would end up he would do everything he could not to wear anything off of base that let people know that he was in the military when he first joined. Because he'd be like whatever camo with like the boots. I forget what there's the term is for that.
Fatigues. Did you say
Fatigues.
fatigues?
And little kids come up to him while he's like trying to shop at Target to get home. And they're like, "Thank you for your service." And he's like, "I signed a piece of paper and went to a school for a few months.
Don't
Like, I
do
haven't
what
even
I
done
did,
anything.
kid.
I haven't done anything."
It
Ugh.
was so I signed up right before 9/11, and so after it happened, I remember going to the base, stopping to get gas, and getting gas. Um, I went to go in to pay, and the gas station clerk goes, "No, yours is paid for." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool, thank you." You run into little things like that, and then you run into big things like there when we were doing border patrol out in Phoenix, outside Arizona, and Scottsdale. We went into to eat lunch in Scottsdale twice, which is a lot of money. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money in Scottsdale, Arizona,
Yeah.
and we were on both occasions. There was a large group of us. The first time it was a dozen of us. We went into a restaurant. We're just eating everything. Somebody picks up the tab. Doesn't They don't identify themselves. Just somebody
You
picked up
just
your
go to
tab.
pay and there's no bill.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
said somebody else picked it up. And the second time was we went into it was like 24 of us going to a crap. It's not Qdoba. It's not what's the
Chipotle.
Chipotle. 24 of us in a Chipotle. You know that ain't cheap. And the guy in front of all of us said, "I got all of them," and then went down and ate.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Here's my card. Just bring it back to me." 24 people eating.
That's a
and
$15 bowl.
and then
Getting
and then when
guac.
you're sitting there going, well, do I want the extra chips in queso now? Because now it's on somebody else's bill. Now you've put this on me.
you gotta
But I mean,
you gotta
but
do the
people,
thing where
pe-
you just order at least like whatever they order, you just order that. Oh, it's on him? Oh,
of
I'll have what
equal
he
or
has.
lesser value.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. And so, I mean, but you're doing that for somebody who you're just assuming is doing the right thing, and oftentimes people are. But you realize too that it's now nerd culture is very pervasive throughout the military. But I mean, you can look at people and you can find them from all different backgrounds, all different personality types, and all different motivations for coming in. Whether it was patriotism, like me, came in for the college money, came in because a guy I was in basic training with lost 3 family members in 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
So, people who were angry at things, people who just wanted to come in there and kill people, to people who wanted to learn a skill. Like it's many different reasons, and for that reason, you get good guys, bad guys, and different guys, and you're right through the whole spectrum. And then getting out and learning and running into having my own run-ins with police officers that weren't positive.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I go, well, You know, some are good, some are great, some are awesome, but at the same time, they've got a job to do. And if you're
I mean, it's
speeding,
an enforcement mechanism. You have
were you
to
speeding?
have it somehow, but
Were you speeding?
no,
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 you weren't speeding.
no.
They just pulled you over for not
Wait,
speeding.
I don't know why you pulled me over. The answer is no.
Do the Nick Recator response.
I I
No.
learned long ago I could just pay whatever the ticket price was and have a lawyer get it off my record. So I just
So
do
I was
those.
both of my bad interactions. Oh, they went different ways. We're both speeding related. The first one, I was coming home from visiting some of my friends in college, and I was it's a straight road. It's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody there. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm just flying. I got my dad's Thunderbird, and I'm just flying down the road. And I think I was probably going 115 when I passed the first police officer, who was probably bored out of his mind.
Was it the new Thunderbird or was it a classic?
It was a 2000, or it's a 1993. We had
Okay,
the
so the
V8.
newer one with
So
the circle window and
no. That was the old big body style, the one that they were using in NASCAR.
oh, gotcha. All right,
So
I see.
but it would move. Move fast
Oh
enough.
yeah.
And so, like I said, he was probably bored. This is before texting and smartphones, and he apparently didn't have enough time to get the gun up to clock me. So he just gets on
Mm-hmm.
the radio. There's somebody headed your way. And there wasn't any reason for me to slow down. So he had no, and so there's one intersection. There's one intersection in this county. It's a very rural county. And you slow down, there's a McDonald's there and everything. And so I come up onto the intersection, and there's an old pickup truck in the slow lane, and behind him it's a Firebird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the last body style Firebirds they came out with.
I've
Where
got
you
the
would see
84.
No, I'm thinking like a 96 or something like that, or
Oh,
98.
okay. When they went a little pointier, like the Cougars.
Yeah, the pointy wedge shaped ones.
Yeah.
And so the light turns green, I pull off, and immediately lights come out from behind the pickup truck and come right up on my tail. I go, oh, this guy in the Firebird wants to race. So I was like, all right, go down the road. And it got weird because every time he would come up, he would get close to me. He wouldn't try to pass. And so I was like, all right. And so I'll just go a little bit faster. I was like, maybe he's just trying to, hang behind me.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, there's no fog lights on this car. So immediately started to get suspicious. And then there's a tractor equipment dealership that keeps its lights on 24/7 there. And we passed through there. I saw the reflection of the light going through the light bar, and I go, oh no, I'm a dead man. So I go back down to 55 miles an hour. I get in the slow lane. Maybe he'll pass me, right?
Just everything clenches, and you're like, oh, please help there to be a signed registration in that glove box.
I've been had. And so when he turns on, I think I upset him, because when he turned the lights on, I was immediately on the side of the road because I knew it was coming, because he just kind of drifts in behind me. And he pulls, and he is absolutely rude to me, like gun out and everything. When I've been pulled over in the past, usually the cop sits back there for a few minutes. He's running your plates. He's getting everything together, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got time. So I've always had time to get my driver's license, the registration. It was my dad's car, so I was looking for the registration. It's up in the visor and everything. And then after that, it's just like, hands on the wheel, very polite, because I've got, that's how I do my business. Doesn't have a chance to do any of that. He must have been immediately out of that car, guns out, and he's like, what are you reaching for? I was like, the registration.
I got him. He was speeding.
Yeah, he's dead. He goes, put your hands on the, and I didn't even have time to turn the car off, which I probably should have done immediately. But he thought I was probably methed out or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was absolutely rude to me and everything.
Did he ask you, did you see me behind you? I hate that one.
I can't remember.
I hate that one so much.
He didn't clock me. He paced me at 94 and a 55.
Pacing is such an annoyance. Like,
well,
I had a buddy that got paced, and like, he brought the cops back to our party, and it was just like, what?
Oh no.
That was the time I sat on the hood for a while. So
yeah. Well, the funny thing was, so he wrote me a ticket. he didn't arrest me. He wrote me a ticket and let me go. And I get home. My dad's asleep, in the living room, and he's like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "Whatever." I was like, "Yeah, I got a speeding ticket." And he asked me, and I told him about it. He goes, I've never been that fast in my life," which I knew was immediately questionable because he was on the rescue squad.
Yeah.
And then I was telling the story to
Dad,
my
I've been in the car while you were going that fast.
close to it. But I was
It's like
relaying that story
Christmas
to my
Story.
cousin later on. He goes, "Oh, we've been going over 100 miles an hour in your dad's old Blazer when he,
Yeah,
back in the day."
it's the Christmas Story. I'd heard my father say those words 1,000 times, but just blurted out the first name that came to mind and just throws his friend under the bus instead of saying his dad taught him how to say the F word. Oh. No, I
But
love
yeah,
that.
when I got to court on that, he showed up, and I was trying to
Showed up.
figure
That
out
is a small town. Jeez.
one of the two deputies probably on duty. It was a deputy. That's
Mm.
that's that's how we do things out in the country. He shows up, and I had been waffling over whether I should have worn my class A's to court, because it can cut both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I ultimately said no. I will just wear a nice civilian outfit or whatever. And he shows up, and he looks like a dump. He is 300 pounds at the waist. He's shaped like a bonbon. His tie is all jacked up. His name tag isn't always on straight, and his hair is like kind of wispy and going away. But it's all like, I was like, this guy got me. Like, how did he get his car to go that fast? Because I couldn't
Yeah,
see him because
no,
he was
he's got a
hanging
lot
out in
of
the back
ballast.
the whole time. Man, it must have taken him forever to pace me. So, but then he goes, and he was rude to me. I was like, what? What?
How?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, get out of here. Get out of here. I'm so done with this. And then the second time was, I got caught in a kind of a speed trap. I was going a little bit faster than I should have been. At the time I had an '04 GT Mustang,
Mm-hmm.
and the cop came around the corner, saw me, and I saw him like just slam on the brakes. And I go, I can duck him.
Yep.
So I downshifted out of there. The first subdivision I took a left into. The first corner, I figured I could have lost him after the first corner. And I went into the first turn after the first street after that, and then I just head out, and it's hanging out in the thing, and he followed me right in there, and he
Yep.
was like, were you ducking me? And I was like, were your lights on? And he knew at that point he knew at the point there wasn't going to be anything to do it, so he just wrote me the speeding ticket. I knew at that point I wasn't getting out of it.
Yeah.
So
That's
he
hilarious.
was mad as a hornet over there.
We have just instituted in Washington State. This is not legal advice, but the state patrol is no longer allowed to chase.
Not just motorcycles,
Not allowed to chase
any of them.
anything. So if you just keep going, they're just gonna eventually turn their lights back off. But before that,
They'll have they'll have your license plate probably on camera. I don't know how you.
they're not gonna bother with that though. Was it you? That's the hardest part when it's a person, right? When they use the cameras, they can see you, but like a guy behind you, you get your plates, he still doesn't know that it's you in the passenger. But I was in my bug eye, so it was early enough that I had my Subaru, and I'm heading down on the freeway, and all of a sudden there's a dude in the middle of the road pointing me at the side, and I'm like, you are so lucky, because you like come over kind of a crested turn, and then he just kind of walked out into the road and was just pointed me over, and I was like, you could be a dead cop and I could be facing manslaughter if I wasn't paying attention to this.
Capital manslaughter.
Like, holy crap. How is this you're like, I know. I'll waddle out there. It'll be okay. I brought my extra layer of blubber this weekend, so I'm going to stop him no matter what. And it was like, what the heck is wrong with you, dude?
You don't know what was going on at home. And he goes, maybe I make it, maybe I don't.
Yeah, he's secretly looking to just end it like, was it Lethal Weapon?
Yeah. Oh no, it's like that. Did you see that time where the
Oh wait, no,
that
not Lethal
video
Weapon.
a few months ago where the guy flipped off and yelled at the guy while he had another guy pulled over, and so the cop absolutely loses his mind at this dude.
No,
Oh, it's a great one. Hang on, let me see if I can do
I'm trying
if
to.
I can.
Short Time. Short Time's what it's called. It's a movie 1990. Uh, it's about a cop who he like in the opening scene gets a diagnosis of cancer that he's gonna die.
Oh,
Realizes that if he dies just naturally, his wife is not gonna get her pension, and then finds out that if he dies in the line of duty, that she gets all kinds of money. So he's like, "Well, I'm gonna die," and he just starts taking like the worst of the worst of the worst like things that he can do at his precinct, and like he's in a car chase and like rolls his car, and it's a '90s movie, but they have like that weird in between of like when cars still had the big rectangle front ends, but they were getting a little skinnier. And so he just
mm-hmm.
flips this monstrous car, and he's like, and he's like, I'm alive, and he's like, seatbelt, like takes his seatbelt off and like keeps going. It's such a funny movie.
Yeah,
Short Time if you haven't seen it in chat.
I'll have to watch that one because look, the one thing, the guilty thing I want to get in, I've always wanted to do is get into a high speed chase with the police. I'm never going to.
Mm.
I've got way too much. Look, and then people's lives, you're putting people's lives in danger and everything. But like the thing that on the bucket list that you will never do, but would love to, high speed chase with the cops, just to see how far I could get. Like, and
Well, you just
probably
come up
not.
here. You can drive. Like I said, you just
Well, no, they're not even going to chase you.
well,
You just
they'll
already told me they're not going to chase
this
me.
is this is a trick though. You sit at 65 for a while, then you go to 70, and they'll start speeding up, and you just gun it right at the end, and they'll start to get accelerating, and it'll be just a little bit, and then they'll be like, that's right, I'm not supposed. And then so you get the little thrill, you get a little
No,
bump,
no,
right?
it's not the real thing. It's not the real thing. Plus, I don't
It's
want to
not
do it on
helicopters.
I don't want to do it on the freeway. I want to do it on like Dukes of Hazzard style on the back roads. You
Uh,
know, maybe
Cannonball run it.
no jumps.
Yeah.
But yeah, just enough to see, how far can I make it before they finally get me. I'm going to show
You can just
this.
play Need for Speed.
I did play that, and it's not the same. It's not the same. All right, I'm gonna show this one.
You got to get the full steering rig. It feels a lot better.
Yeah. Oh man. Look. Things that I would do if I was if I had more money than was worth it. All right, so oh wait.
I'm not giving out bad advice. I'm just giving out advice.
There's no video. There's no sound. Where's the sound?
Did you check the button?
What button?
When you share it, there's a button at the bottom that says share tab sound
Hang on.
or audio.
Let's try this again. Share screen. Some screens let you share audio. Look for the share audio checkbox next to the window. Follow these steps. Okay, yeah. Oh.
I'm a Fed. I can't wear Ray-Bans. I have a prescription.
You're just not a good Fed.
That's all right. We all know what he's saying.
Okay, you have to listen to what he says.
Okay.
Feeding, man.
Okay,
there we
okay.
go. It just hasn't started yet. I get it. How about a drag strip? Drag strips are different too.
Yeah, it is. It's way different.
Hey, can I just ask you why you're riding their butt like that and speeding, man?
I'm running his license plate because everybody else is speeding. Why are you speeding?
I was only going 60.
Speed limit's 40.
50.
Sign.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Favor. Oh, give me the weed, too.
No, I have a...
Yeah.
I have a medical marijuana card.
Step out.
I have a card.
Step out.
All right. Stop, man.
You want to fucking run your mouth? No problem. You came to the right guy. Step out.
All right. Stop.
Oh, that was not what I expected to step out. I don't know why. Oh.
Sir,
where's the marijuana?
I have it in my car, but
I was not expecting Ethan Klein's brother to come out of the car there.
Right now, you're just being detained. You're not under arrest.
All right.
Am I being detained? Yes, you are.
The blue car
Yeah, which one?
was tailing me.
Yeah.
While I was pacing a tractor trailer looking for a motor vehicle violation because the governor's office has gotten multiple complaints on traffic stops.
I know.
Okay?
I know that.
So we're out doing our thing.
Still yapping.
He decides to pass me and flip me off.
All right, Speedo, I'm sorry.
All right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So who the fuck do you think you are? What do you
Look
know
at
what I'm
that
doing?
forearm flex. You know someone's
I know
pissed
what-
when like the muscle on their forearm is bulging. Like,
Everyone's got something to fucking say. Mind your own goddamn business. You're fucking speeding. How would I start with that?
He goes, yeah, I was only going 60. It's 40.
Bullshit. I was
right?
told
Only
for a reason.
reckless.
And if you hadn't done that fucking stupid stunt, I'd do
That's
it
why you
right
don't say
now.
what you were
And
doing.
whoa, just couldn't leave it alone, could you? You had to be a fucking American. God help you if there's anything illegal in this car. Is it in the original dispensary container? It's what? It's roast. Is it in the original dispensary container? No. Then you're fucked. How's that sound? No shit. Mind your own
I
fucking
love
business
it.
next time.
The guy needs a raise. No, this guy needs a
it's
paid
called shut the
vacation.
fuck up.
He was apparently 2 months from
I was
retirement.
driving along. I was going to head to a
Okay.
simple citation that I keep, but no. You got to be. Just couldn't fucking shut your mouth. Where you going anyway? Where do you work? Where?
Don't talk.
Oh, he's
What's
scared.
that?
No, he's going to give him
Paper?
whatever.
Yeah, you know,
I don't know.
He's going to tell him everything he did as a third grader if it was wrong.
I promise you, I only have weed in the car.
I promise. Well, of course I'll believe you now.
Don't answer things that aren't
You know what
asked.
a heat seeker is? A heat seeker is something that draws attention to itself. Heat-seeking missiles, they go for the heat. Sit the fuck down. Did I tell you to move?
The cops were a lot nicer to me when I sat on the hood, so I want that out there.
They're a lot nicer when you're chill and
Why
polite.
am I speeding?
I was
But
drunk
not
out of my
running your
mind.
mouth
so-
like this guy
Connecticut
did.
General Statute 14-298 allows law enforcement officers to disregard the traffic laws in the performance of their duties. How the fuck am I going to catch a speeder if I'm not speeding? You like your job at NASA in physics?
I love that this guy can quote the laws that allow
do
him
you
to
want this
break
to
the
be
laws.
I can tell. I
No,
don't wanna
he's not
get
getting
ruined.
fired, Nico. They've got a union.
Yeah, and he
I don't
hasn't
fucking believe
done
it.
like being
Never
loud and
fucking ends his fucking
aggressive is
job. I
not
got 14 months.
illegal.
I can't fucking wait to be done.
15 months. Yeah, 15 months away.
This ought to tell you why our department, instead of having 1,300, has 850 right now. There's a fucking clue to the public. What a bunch of assholes you are.
He looks around at the public. He's like, oh,
Yeah, everybody. I always love that though. People at the gun shop all the time would also be like, "I've got a card, and it's like, I don't care. That doesn't mean you can't be illegal still.
Right there. You want it on paper or not? Is it in the original dispensary container? No shit. Turn around.
here's the beauty of the whole thing.
I'm kidding? You think I'm fucking kidding? Look at me. Do I look like I'm happy with you right now? Shut your fucking mouth, mind your own business, and be on your way. Don't you ever fuck with me again.
Don't ever talk to me or my son again.
Hey, can you please say?
Oh my god. Did he say "have a nice day" as he got in the car?
Yeah, he does. Like he doesn't look. This guy's whole day is like shook. Like he doesn't know whether to be mad, scared, elated.
Oh, he knows. He's terrified.
Of course, he's driving a Scion too, right?
Yeah, the old TC. Oh my goodness. I had a buddy with one of those TCs. The whole roof is glass.
I had such high hopes for those. I like the premise of it. I was thinking about that the other day because I saw a TC and I'm like, that thing is old. I remember those things were brand new. It's like the premise of we'll give you a base car with the expectation that you're going to mod it. And
See,
never really.
that's
kicked
what they
off.
were supposed to do. And then like the GT86 came out, right? And we had that like, oh, finally a small rear wheel drive, cheap car. In Japan, you can buy it with black plastic front and rear bumpers, like literally just like shells that we have to legally put on the car, so you're not overpaying because you're going to swap it out anyway for a Rocket Bunny kit. But then over here, all we get is like the BRZ and then the FRS for so long, and it's like, why are these things not what they're supposed to be?
Yeah, but he gets off. He got off with he didn't get anything. He didn't get a ticket. He
Well,
just
he
got
lost-
his weed thrown out.
He lost some powder, yeah.
Well,
Whatever that
I mean,
was.
That's to me, that's just asshole tax.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what like he loses his mind over that. And they said I think they put him on desk leave. But he mentions the thing that it's a police force that's supposed to be 300 police officers strong, and they're operating with 850.
Yeah.
Which is an unbelievable manpower shortage.
No, that's
And
like,
he is,
think about any place you've worked and now fire 20% of the people. Is that?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and he's talking about one of the things he was talking about was the, hiding, following behind a semi, looking for issues, which, look, some DOT guys can be pains. I've run into them in the past. But if you look at the massive, all the different like trucks and equipment that go up and down the interstate, I have a family. I tell my wife, don't drive next to tractor trailers. Like,
Nope.
Like there's some haulers out there like Hirschbach or Werner
Ryder.
or no, not Ryder.
Really?
Like good? No. Like,
are you talking good or are you talking bad? Because
good.
I have seen riders stick trailers places that you wouldn't think a trailer could fit.
Right. Well, Ryder is mostly they're leased, so you don't know what you're getting, and it's also leased equipment. So
yeah,
I was surprised. Like UPS, all their equipment is kept up well. They've hired the best drivers. That's you're generally getting a good product right there. But when you're looking
Ryder.
at, DW and Sons transportation, which is literally just the guy, he's driving a 1995 Freightliner that is actually 3 different trucks put together.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know the last time that his truck ever passed an inspection. He just knows a guy. And that's driving up and down the road. Pieces come off.
Oh yeah.
And or so the guys now, like so many truck drivers now don't know how to drive a stick. They've got places where you can't, your CDL doesn't qualify you to drive a truck with a manual transmission if you took your test with an automatic transmission vehicle.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, I guess. If you didn't take the test the right way, then you don't get to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because you can drive a semi with an automatic doesn't mean you can drive it with the stick. It's a whole, I've tried doing it before because I don't have a CDL. I've just worked around those trucks. It's a whole different mechanism than just driving your standard transmission vehicle like car.
Oh, especially if you get into like the split shifts and stuff.
Yeah, split shifts, that's a big one.
So I had a delivery company for a while. That we only ever did the CMV certification. So it's like over 10,000 pounds, but it's basically straight trucks.
It's still commercial, but it's still commercial.
Yeah, and you're like, I know what I tell my employees they should do. I know what the book says they should do. I know what they realistically should do, and then I know what level they're actually performing at. And like there is I had a friend who a guy rolled a semi and just chopped the hood of his Civic. Like he could just have died if he was a few feet farther forward, right? There's way too much mass there. They're way too dangerous. But I'm always, anytime someone brings up brands, I always think of Swift, because Swift is just such a
swing wide. It's a freaking truck.
No, brand.
That's the joke. That's what Swift stands for.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. That's your entry levels. That's a lot of your entry level folks. And the problem is really nowadays is the trucker shortage was bad before COVID, before this labor shortage was. It has only gotten worse. And so now you're getting literally anybody who can hold a steering wheel, they're passing through there. And It's it's scary. Man, the chat's been going on the side. I haven't been paying attention to much of what they've been saying, but
I did share an image if you want to laugh a little bit.
Yeah. I saw it pop up. Yeah.
Rolling a Swift isn't anything new. I want to know who built that mailbox.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. What are we up to, chat?
Oh, we got Mr. Scott J87's in here. Brother started with Swift. He's probably got some stories. Venkman, I know he's one of your he or she?
She, to the best of my knowledge.
She's
a fan of Peter Venkman.
Peter Venkman. Nico, Serranos came over. It's good. I'll get this at Blaine's a Fed. That's obvious. He's obviously trying to not look like a Fed. Oh, I'm allergic to Ray-Bans.
I can't be a Fed. I'm colorblind.
They only see black and white.
Oh, I guess you're right. That doesn't work anymore, does it? Dang it, that was my one out.
Not anymore. Look,
Your late uncle used to drive and own a company.
Bradley Manning a security clearance. So if they gave old Manning a security clearance, they should be able to give everybody a security clearance. Weeb's in the chat. Funny. Dresden's in the chat. Yeah, this is good times. This is good times. Welcome to Friday, everybody. We're almost an hour in. So.
What does the chat want to talk about? I feel like we've just been.
Yeah, we went wide fast. We've started with some questions about anime. Question about my opinion of some anime.
Well, no, it's just more your take on like what you want to watch. Because like you think about it, right? When I pull up my phone to throw something in my ear, I'm looking for that half-hour to 5-hour YouTube video because I'm just very manual labor right now in my life, where it's like I don't really want something that I have to like focus in too much on, but it can just drone forever, so I don't have to touch my phone and pick a new video, right?
Well, I used to listen to Rush all the time, but that was the inconvenience with Rush Limbaugh.
Rush the band.
Rush man. But you had to catch him noon Eastern time to 3, and there was a lot of commercials in between. Now I just get Nick's show, and whether it's 4 hours or 6 hours, it's playing in the background while I'm working.
Oh,
and that's like I can just I just drone on. I just let it play in the background, and it's fun. Or the courtroom streams where I haven't been following this one. This one's been I'm a little bit. I've had a couple of streams. That was this one's been kind of boring. So
I love the lunacy of Sovereign Citizens is finally hitting something that isn't just a traffic ticket, because the compilations are hilarious. Why can't I record? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to do? That's not my name. My name is B capital L lowercase. And like they're funny because they're in like little street courts, fighting some parking ticket. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is such a minor offense. They're probably just going to let you go because it's a $20 unpaid parking fine, right? But here we have like the absolute, let's crank the lever to the like one of the worst things you could do. And let's try those same arguments. And it's just like, holy crap. Yeah. This is insane.
Well, I graduated high school with a guy like that. Like he started Virginia Cop Block. He was all over the place in Richmond. He had a lawsuit against the Virginia Commonwealth University Police because the campus cop had somebody pulled over, or he was doing whatever. And he drove by with a bullhorn and was yelling at him to stop harassing citizens in his car. And so the guy pulled him over and everything. And as soon as he starts with the whole Articles of Confederation, Constitution, all this other stuff. And the guy, just gets confused. And instead of just, being cool, he gets angry about it. You're throwing a lot of words at me. I'm going to take that as disrespect.
Yeah, exactly.
The 40-year-old virgin, Kevin Hart, and 40-year-old virgin. That's what, and he got like a $10,000 judgment over that, which went probably almost exclusively to his attorney.
Yeah.
But that was his thing, and I mean, he had like everybody, like all the police officers knew him. He would if a cop was in a business's um driveway or parking lot or something like that, running radar along the side of the road, he would call the business and start harassing them that they were allowing cops to run radar and their thing. And it's like, dude, just chill. But I mean, the
You
dude was
always
always,
wonder,
I mean, he wasn't a bright guy. Or he isn't a bright guy. I assume he's still alive. Isn't a bright guy, but
like, what ties some people to that, right? Like, I get volunteering for like a charity or like working with some group that does something that you think is important or something like that. But then I also leave that area and go do uh anything. Have dinner with my wife. Go do some like woodworking or, sit in a hot tub. Like, I leave that. But there's some people where it's like that they just wrap up, they tie up so much into these beliefs of like the state's trying to get me, they're out for me, they're coming for you too, and I'm the shield between you and them, and now I got to protect you. And it's just like, relax, it's
it's
okay.
gotta be that it's their thing. Kind of like, so imagine if you were as into this concern over your sovereignty um, as you were interested in anime,
Yeah.
right? Would you be this guy? I don't know. You don't probably wouldn't, but people who probably would if they let their hobby or
Yeah.
main
You
interest.
meet him at every convention. You're
Ex-
like, I
That's
love anime, but you're a little different.
me. So our first think my first interaction with a con was me and my wife. We were going out to the Baltimore Aquarium with her college roommate and her husband, and they lived up in that area, and so we were
Mhm.
going out there. We were really excited. It was a nice little date. Uh, and we get there, and we're in the traffic, coming through, getting ready to get it to the inner harbor of Baltimore, and we start seeing some very odd sights. So a lot of people dressed up in costumes, and it was Otacon. Otacon was going on there,
Okay. Yeah, I
and
know
we
that
see
convention.
a 10 to 12-year-old girl, I guess, dressed up as Sailor Moon, which, okay, understandable. And then there was a 40-year-old man right behind her dressed up as Sailor Moon. And I was like, um, I don't know if I should be concerned that is her parent or is not her parent. Which one is more concerning to me? They're both. And the
Daddy, I
real,
want you to dress up with me.
yeah, it's weird when you don't. Like, what's more weird, that you would shave or would not shave for your
Ooh.
legs for that outfit?
What's
He
more
didn't.
weird, that they had to shave or didn't have to shave?
What really ticked me off is they bought all the tickets to the aquarium. That was the worst
Oh,
part. So our whole date was a bust. We ended up going to Dave and Buster's, the only thing we could get into over there, and we were just kind of really irritated about it. It's a
I
great
love
place to go.
aquariums.
Anybody on the East Coast, Baltimore Aquarium's awesome. It's definitely worth it. But not for us, not that day. And so after that, I've been anti-con of all sorts. They should all be closed down. The government should force them all closed.
No more convening on any sort of behalf. I love I love tiny cons. I will go to SakuraCon because it's like the big one, but I really like those. We got a hotel, like banquet hall sized cons, and it's just like
Mhm.
10 tables of like people who, they draw their own art or they make stickers or they make buttons, you like whatever craft is that's anime related, and they'll have like a slightly raised stage where they got like a couple voice actors to come like just talk for a little bit, or local industry professionals will chat. I love that feel of just this little tiny group of people that really, really like this one medium.
Yeah.
I got real tired of going to PAX, the Penny Arcade Expo for like video games and everything.
Hmm.
It has a
I've heard of
really
it.
fun indie floor, but you just walk around looking at giant displays that are like, this is a big game that's coming out. And it's like, I see ads for games all the time, especially these games, because these are the big games that are getting big ads, right? Like, it's just cool you build a giant dinosaur, but what's the game like? You know, what's any of this like? And the indie area is pretty fun because you can meet some really small creators. I met this guy Docione. He's a DJ that makes this really fun game called Gang Beasts, where it's like a bunch of like floppy controlled Kigurumis punching each other, and it's a ton of fun. And then we went to the Hard Rock for a party with Double Fine Productions because they're producing his game. And so you get these little instances of like this was a really fun interaction, but like I can just kind of find those interactions. I don't need to go to the giant convention that costs $100 a day to just stand in line or be around other people who really like video games. Like I don't need that. I don't need to go to a place where there are people with boxes passing out deodorant. It's not exactly my idea of a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, jokes. Me joking aside, I'm very interested in going to one if I had a real opportunity. It's the Richmond area. It's not a huge scene for conventions at all. Period. It's just not.
Yeah.
So, but that's like I said. I have a casual interest in some of the anime and some anime shows. I would really like to get Vic on the show for an interview just about navigating being a niche celebrity and how that affected his faith in Christ and his Christianity, because I know that he's gone through some things, and not to get into specifics, more to talk about what was going on in his mind and in his soul as he was addressing issues that he had to come to terms with himself.
Yeah. That would be fantastic. I attended at SakuraCon in 2014. No, maybe this was 2004. This might have been like almost 20 years ago now. He came up to SakuraCon, and they actually, because SakuraCon, for those who don't know, Sakura means like cherry blossoms. So it happens in the spring, and it literally happens Easter weekend. And my parents, of course, were like, "How are you gonna go to Easter Sunday?" And Vic actually held an Easter service at the convention that year. So we went to the convention and literally just went to an Easter service that Vic was talking at, and it was like, this is so weird. There's a furry sitting next to me at an Easter service.
Well, that would have been like you come out there with the Southern Baptist style out there and be like, I know. He goes, first off, get that furry out of here.
Yeah,
get him out of.
We're gonna cull the herd today.
we're gonna take care of some business right here. Get that furry out of here. Because I know what you've been doing this weekend. I know what's been going through your minds. Repent.
Sometimes you go to a church service that's like a call to the altar, and you brought your friend there, and they feel like they're good now because they made the decision to go to church, and so they hear like you're a sinner, you need to come to Christ. He's the only way to wipe away, and they're like, but I am good. I came to church. We all know where you just were. We've been to the artist alley. We've seen what you were buying. And we want you to know that God judges you, but has grace as well. I love that.
What is this? I like free deodorant. It's $3 less for me the month I get it, although I pay every day.
My problem is like I don't do antiperspirant, which is what they always hand out. I do deodorant, but like there's like a weird aluminum thing in antiperspirant that I'm allergic to.
Yeah, I just stopped. Well, I've kind of got a similar thing. Like I started breaking out because I used to use Old Spice, and and I started breaking out, and so I just went to the non-aluminum or titanium, whatever the metals they part. I got into
wolf thorn. I smell like a gummy bear.
Yeah, and so I found one of these more natural ones, and as long as my wife thinks I smell good when I'm wearing it, that's all I really care about. And so she says it smells great, and so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, the trick is you put on the good smell, then you do a couple push-ups. The musk really helps.
Yeah, be like, hey,
yeah,
I just wanted to know, babe, did you
how's this smell for you? Some idiot complained about that. Oh, of course, some idiot complained that there was going to be religion at their hentai fest. Like that's just what someone's going to do. The trick is just to ignore it and know that you're going to have a room full of 200 people at a convention that I think in 2004 was like 20,000 people. So 1% of a group of people that are there to just look at anime and stuff want to go to an hour-long service. And I forget for the life of me who the female voice actor was that was also there, but like she sang and it was great, and it was just a really really cool time.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. And that's an interesting thing too, because you get a lot of people that, I mean, it's basically a bunch of randos
Hmm.
together, and you don't
Yeah.
know if they're Pentecostal or, Lutheran or, you
I'm
know,
pretty sure they weren't Pentecostal. No one spoke up in the middle of it. So there were no
you
there
know.
were no Southern Baptists, I can tell you that, because no voices during prayer. And
Oh, did you see the Matt Walsh
no
thing?
no tongues. Did I see Matt Walsh? I've watched two Matt Walsh things recently, and both
Did
of
you see what
them.
he said on Twitter recently?
Is it because he released a whole video about how anime is demonic?
Yeah, that was what it was.
Yeah.
And he said, I track my first station. All cartoons are demonic.
Yep.
And
He
what,
he is just the problem with Matt Walsh is I just don't find him funny most of the time. It's not that like he's not sarcastic and has a funny dry sense of ideas, but like they just don't make me laugh. And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
cool.
Well, I've seen the thing where he did the "What is a woman" thing because they cannot stop advertising it, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Hmm.
But he's running into cartoon characters basically, and a you know what is it, the I'm a wolf person, furry for part of the fur family or
Oh,
whatever,
otherkins.
and he's asking questions that follow along that path. Can you communicate with the wolves? Or is it, can you do some of that right now? can you
Yeah.
can you demonstrate for us? And it's, and you go through these things, but and I haven't watched the movie because I don't need to. I mean, I
No,
just
it's not. It wasn't
it's
made for me.
right. But Christian Mario, who's on comes on the show occasionally, he had a great response to that when Matt Walsh said that anime is demonic. He goes, I like a lot of things that Matt Walsh says, but I have to remind myself that he does work for Ben Shapiro. At the end of the day, Ben Shapiro is signing his paychecks. So
Yeah. No, that one was funny. The initial comment, of course, I met with like I'm tired of this argument because I've I literally watched Guyver when I was like 7 or 8. So like I've been in and among anime since childhood, and had to basically not tell a lot of people about it for a good chunk of that life because they just immediately are like, they're picturing Bible Black. They're picturing like the worst thing ever that you could like think of seeing,
never heard any of these
tentacles and
things.
all. No, that's fine. That's fine. You shouldn't have heard of them. But they're thinking of like these
I
awful,
have, but I'm
awful
trying to pretend that
things.
I haven't.
It's okay. I won't out you yet. You come out when it's safe. All right.
I'm a
Um,
flawed man. I own it. I'll own
yeah,
it.
you can own it. But like there was forever where it was just like I'd rather not have someone be like, "Oh, I hate you for this," when they have no idea. Like I know that they're ignorant about it, and
Mhm.
I'm just gonna not have this conversation because I know if I bring this up, they're gonna say something like that.
Yeah,
And
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 that's
it's like I see it again as like, oh, haha, joke. I was being sarcastic, and it's like, yeah, but it's not funny. Like it's just not funny. People
yeah.
actually say this.
Well, and because people actually think, and they don't understand it because they're like, there's a lot of people out there that they see it and they're like, it's just a cartoon. My wife does not like any of it, right?
Hmm.
But she doesn't say I think it's evil or anything. She just thinks I think it's childish. And I
Mm,
don't get into it. Love to be able to
I guess.
every time I see something, and this is the problem that I do run into with anime. Every time I see something, I'm like, oh, she might like this. They do something weird and perverted, and I'm like, she's not gonna. Now it's a complete and total turn off for her. She's gonna be like, what are these? It's like, why
Yeah,
do you have to put in these perverted things every once in a while?
yeah.
But and but that's the thing. He's lumping a whole genre, and then and then he's being an idiot about it when he says all cartoons are demonic because
No.
don't
I
ever
I
say
just
that about.
my argument against like obviously adult cartoons have been around forever, adult anime has been around forever. It's just a medium. The fact that Disney kept our cartoons more childlike on a surface level, and no one really saw Ralph Bakshi or a lot of these other adult cartoons has caused people to have this idea of like cartoons are for kids. For me though, it's always just like when you have a real person, it takes either an uncrazy amount of money to make a set that looks realistic, or a ton of like backbreaking CG to make it look even decent. Whereas in an anime and a cartoon, so anything that's drawn, you can just draw whatever you want. You don't have that limitation of this will look disjointed or weird if I just draw it, because it already kind of fits in with the universe I've developed. So we can have building-sized robots just marching around, and it works because they're drawn in with the rest of the landscape. So you have this cohesion of the visual versus something that, even with like the most modern cool CG, you're still kind of like, yeah, but they did that really well. Like that's your best like thing is like, it's rarely I didn't notice that was fake. It's usually, wow, they did that really well, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then one of the things I learned in high school in a psychology class was the Flintstones, right? We know it
Mhm.
as growing up watching Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but we didn't know that was originally an adult cartoon. It was a cartoon that adults watched.
Oh,
At the
funny.
end of the cartoon, they would have an ad for cigarettes.
Yeah.
I mean, which is cool because it's Barney's out there just smoking a
Yeah.
cigarette. Like, oh, it's whatever brand it is, and
Yep.
it's like, dude, Barney smokes Lucky Stripes. They're all
Yeah.
Lucky Strikes.
I
But
remember finding those because like the internet finds everything, and being like, oh, did someone do some funny parody of Hanna-Barbera? And no, that was an actual commercial from back in the day, right?
yeah, they had canned laughter and everything, and that's the amazing thing. But I think the generation that grew up with them, um, as kids, just started to just watch cartoons more and more, and then it became, oh, this is a childish thing because, like you said, Disney really kept it juvenile.
Yep.
But Lord help anybody who says anything bad about Tailspin. So,
Nothing that is for children is bad. That's another thing. Oh, I don't like it because it's made for kids, and it's like that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, okay, I will agree. The bronies take it way too far, but a
ruin
kids
everything.
show needs to be designed such that the kid can watch it and their parents can giggle from time to time as well. If you don't have a kids show with a few innuendos for mom and dad, you're gonna fail. Unless it's
Yeah,
Coco Melon, you just throw the tablet at them and you don't have to watch it as well.
Caillou. Caillou's the worst.
Oh, that stupid little cancer patient.
That kid is the
Did you want to
worst.
teach your kids how to whine, how to complain, how to like Caillou wanted it now, and it's
If
like
the left
what?
wants population control, they need to just pipe that show into any to young adults of marrying age. It was
Just
awful.
hotels.
Oh, pop culture mechanic talking about Looney Tunes was the best. We
What's going
we
on,
were
Pop?
looking for a show to watch for movie night tonight. And we were going through Prime, and Daffy Duck's Quack or Looney Tunes Quackbusters
Mm-hmm.
popped up. It's a nice little it's like a small short movie. It's one of those things where this one was funny. Comes in, got the jokes, gets out of there. And it's pretty cool. Quick. Looney Tunes is awesome. Looney Tunes is awesome.
I love it. They even the My Hero Academia just had a Looney Tunes reference get stuck into the dub.
Oh,
It's
did
a
it?
Yeah, there's a one of the heroes is a giant bunny, so she has a "What's up, Doc" line, and it works well. It's a fun reference. It doesn't feel out of character too much, so it's one of those rare instances where someone goes off script and it sort of works. At the end of the day, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they really don't. But
Well, it was weird for me because, like, it was just a few days ago, my kids discovered Tiny Toons.
oh,
You remember Tiny Toons?
really?
Yeah.
Just a couple days ago?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much media to consume at this age. That
Yeah.
it's just but, we saw what was it on? Was it on Hulu? I forget. It was on one of our streaming services, and it popped up, and my wife was like, "Let them watch that." And so popped it up, first episode, and it's to me watching it because I haven't seen it since I was in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there watching it going, "This is a different perspective." There's a lot of commentary here that I never picked up on as a kid.
Right.
There's a lot of commentary the show writers definitely have a chip on their shoulder about probably the parental or whatever the entertainment group that was kind of trying to legislate everything.
Yeah, no, that is one thing I will say about a lot of like the modern the anti-wokers that are
Mhm.
like, oh, this is bad and it has such and such message, and it's like any story you write is gonna have a message brought to you by whoever wrote it. Now, the story can be bad and we can find it stupid or poorly executed or, a meaningless lesson to try to learn. There's all kinds of like substantial things to criticize, but just the blanket like this is a message is always been like it's always been a message. There's always been a message in media.
Yeah.
It's like right now in anime, the new Gundam, Witch from Mercury, had a lot of Mary Sue complaints and all this stuff because it's the first female lead in a Gundam, and there's all these people that are like, oh, it's got anti-war messages, and it's like, have you never watched
Every
Gundam?
single Gundam is anti-war.
Yeah,
He's
always
sitting there
has
blowing
been.
up robots, monologuing about this is how I feel inside because everybody fights each other.
Yeah. Why do we have to kill each other? Boom, 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 boom. As we kill each other. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just I'll have to check out. I gotta get back into my Gundam watching. I'm so behind on that.
No, it's a good one. If you've I'm assuming you've seen Wing given your age. So then Iron Blooded Orphans was the next really good alternate
Really good.
universe Gundam. This is like if you took both of those and paired it up with it's Revolutionary Girl Utena is what I would say for anime fans. The Tempest is what I would say for any literary fans by Shakespeare. It's a really cool blending of the robot genre with a
This
time
latest one you're talking about.
yeah, with a tale as old as time.
If it's close to either of those two, if it's in between those two, I'm highly interested because I like Wings my favorite just because
Yeah.
and to me it's just, the story has to move and you
Mhm.
have to there has to be a goal. But the more important to me is how cool are the robots? Are they
Yep.
generic looking? Like 8th MS team's a little bit different. It's a little bit, the robots are kind of in the background a little bit. They're not the driving
Right,
force
but they're
behind the story.
personalized, which is
Yeah,
fun.
and
Yeah.
they're not like decked out like the Wing Gundams are, but that's what I like.
No.
Like Heavy
Yeah.
Arms shows up, especially during Endless Waltz when they really beef up the look of them. You're
Yep.
just
You
like,
get the
oh,
bat wings. That's the death scythe in the background is the Endless Waltz one with the big bat wings that like enclose the whole thing.
I've
So
told
cool.
I've told my son if he watches Wing, I'll let him put together the models that are still sitting in my closet that have not been put together, like back to like year 2002
Oh
Bandai
my goodness.
model kits. I'd love to put them together, but as soon as I start putting them together, he's gonna want to put together. He loves to build things, but I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you don't know what we're putting together. You have to understand
Figure it out.
story. You haven't been here. You don't understand. But I like G Gundam. I like
Yep.
there's
Oh, that's a wacky one though.
I
But
like
that's
it. It's such a different to me. And I'm not big in the Marvel universe, but I like the ones that are kind of off the beaten path. Like Doctor Strange was fun to watch. The first Doctor Strange was fun to watch. Didn't see much of anything, but Ant-Man, different, just a different take on superhero. Deadpool, just what's weird, what's different, and why, and that to me is much more.
Well, and it takes the creativity that Gundam has and gives it a little bit of that super robo flair where we have the
There he
Tequila
is.
Gundam and it's like why would this ever exist? I love this design. How do we get this into a story? And we're like, what if all the countries just fight against each other with Gundams and each one is just represented by a different Gundam? They're like, all right, let's do it. And they just make the Netherlands Gundam that's just a giant windmill. Like it's so funny.
The next best thing to them making a Gundam show like Bloodsport the movie.
Oh yes.
I mean, it's almost there. It's almost there, and I like it because it's like I said, it's campy. It's not you take it a little seriously, but not too seriously. And there it is. I think they're just beating each other up. It's just
Yep.
wrestling at
Yep.
that point.
I love Bloodsport. That movie's so good.
Yeah.
The trope of the reminisce was so strong in so many of those old action movies where it's like, I'm at the final battle. I can't quite win. Let me remember something my master taught me. And then all of a sudden I can win. It's always how those ended. And you're like, which scenes are we gonna be? And it's like,
Well,
oh, I got
so you're the anime expert, right?
of this chat,
Yeah, definitely this chat.
yeah.
So one of the things I always see that happens is, and it's not necessarily limited to anime, but you seem to see it in all of them, is the fighting. I get my butt kicked. I just need to train harder. This is why I liked One Punch Man because it's such a great parody of this.
Yep.
I got my butt kicked. I need to train harder, and then then I get the next enemy. And it's always like it's going to happen. Like somebody goes, "I have this attack. There's no way you can beat it." Blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as he says it, he goes, he's going to beat it. And he's going to block it. Like
Yeah.
what's going to happen based on what they're saying. Is that a cultural thing, or is that just what's the story behind that?
It's a few things. I'm going to point to a lot of conjecture about where this comes from. The first thing I'll tell you is I've been to Hiroshima. I've seen the peace monument. I've seen the results of what happens when your perceived baddie shows up and just devastates things, and then you rebuild. Like Mazda is in Hiroshima, and that like you want a car tour where you're like, oh, I want to see how they make Mazdas, and then like halfway through, you've got that tier that's just sitting right there, and you're like, nope, not today, not in public. But you can feel you could if you were a little weaker. It's crazy, and so that idea of getting beat down and then coming back stronger is a very national pride thing that came up with a lot of those kind of atomic era manga. The next place you're getting this in is the fantasy insert. So a little bit we fast forward from that generation into the generation that really likes models, really likes manga, really likes anime. As much as we talk about how like people who like anime and manga are looked down on over here, and some of the only people below us are furries. In Japan, it's the same way. Like the otaku culture is still looked down upon, even though it's basically the only economic thing that they actually move around their country, right? It's still, oh, you're an otaku and people don't want to talk to you. And so you have a lot of this, like, I've been beat down by society. Now I'm a manga writer and I'm gonna write my power fantasy about how I come back from being beat up. And so that little cycle, I think it started as a national pride thing of we came back from the bombs to now just a personal thing of people don't like me and what I like, but now I can make myself the hero.
Is it making more strides there? Is it becoming more mainstream? Because we see like Dungeons and Dragons, and
yeah.
some of the nerd culture has really risen up and become a little bit more taking a piece of that mainstream
One
presence.
of their so they don't call it a parliament, they call it a diet, and one of their diet members is actually the author of what did he write? He's really big on free speech over in Japan because Japan has some really archaic copyright laws. But actually, a manga author is actually in their version of Parliament. So it's getting to the point where everybody knows, and like we've got Goku in the Olympics. Like it's much more national as far as like recognition of the good stuff that like people like and is making money. But that would be like going to an American and being like, "Oh, do you like football?" And like yeah, people like football, but if you really, really, really like fantasy football, like you've got your own spreadsheets with your own guys doing the own rules, people are gonna look a little weird at you, like kind of a nerd, bro. Like there's sort of that difference there where, yes, anime and manga.
My hockey spreadsheet right now.
Wait, he's talking about me. But yeah, so you're getting to the point where it's like, yes, it's nationally recognized. It literally put them on the map. It's a huge economic block for them. They've got the giant Gundams. They've got Goku and Naruto. just all these big name characters are everywhere. But that guy who's really into manga is still an outcast nerd. It's a very, very weird system.
I guess that's. I mean, I guess there's something to these things because if you're a person who we would call, I guess, more of a normie type of person,
Mm-hmm.
and your love for your country, in this case Japan, is, you guys are, you're very industrialized. You've got your own history and culture and everything, and that's got its own warrior culture. It's got, you make automobiles. You're a small island
Mm-hmm.
nation, and you dominating technology industries and in vehicle manufacturing and stuff like that. But
They
what
still
are
can't make
you
a
known
website
for?
though.
Kids or cartoons, which people assume with children
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, or doing other things, and you're kind of like, but I don't want that to be what my country is known for,
Yeah.
right? Because that's kind of belittling, I guess, because I think a lot of people think that that's belittling. Like, oh yeah, y'all, but it's like incredible artwork comes out of stuff like that. If we
Oh
get
yeah.
past the cheaply drawn um anime, because that's really what got me interested in anime, was when Dragon Ball Z first started coming on. It wasn't like the pedestrian episodes that were, them breathing heavily at each other and talking about the fight that they're going to have or that they just had, or what, all the filler
The
content. It was
the in betweens,
so
yeah.
annoying. I hate those episodes. But the when Goku and Vegeta first fight each other, and it's the Ganic gun and the Kamehameha, and I mean, the artwork that I saw there as a middle schooler,
Yeah.
I was sitting
You,
there going,
you didn't know lasers could be drawn. And you're
no,
like,
I'd never
what?
seen artwork, and I was a kid who I mean, that's how I paid attention in class. I had to draw. I had to be drawing something, and the artwork immediately hit me as great, and that's what drew me in, was the artwork and the visual display and everything. And then from there, I still appreciate that. I like it when I hate seeing just bad artwork, which you see in a lot of these um
Same.
a lot of these shows. But then when you see like Cyberpunk's animation was clean, right? And there was some
Yep.
good effects in there. But if you look at like a um Berserk, or and
The anime?
the animation in Castlevania is a little choppy because it's not a very crisp, even flowing. But the one cell drawings that they do are pretty well done. Very, very much what you would see in a comic book. And I still enjoy that, and it is still captivating to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, and what's cool is just to see how it morphed. Like, obviously, you've just seen Cyberpunk, so I can kind of touch on that even more so for you. Is Trigger, the studio behind that? They were with Gainax almost 2 decades ago before they broke off after making Gurren Lagann. And something they do in a lot of their animation is they ask, "What does this feel like?" And they will have characters that physically fill an entire room just to make it feel like they're an imposing threat to your main character or your whoever they're talking to. They're willing to make something look different, even if it's off model or something like that, just to give the feeling that you're looking for. They've toned that down over the years. Like their first stuff, like Inferno Cop and Space Patrol Luluco, really just went off the walls with that, almost in a Looney Tunes esque way, where your characters could do anything just to make the audience know kind of how they were feeling at the time. Whereas more recently with like Kill the Kill and Cyberpunk, Darling in the Franks before that, they're staying much more on model. But they're
mhm.
still trying to push that idea of like I'd rather make it feel a certain way rather than stick to this is what a person looks like when they enter a room. Because we have cool stuff like that. Oh, someone's got a movie coming out, and it's a movie that all we know about it is she locks doors. She goes around locking doors. They're just mysteriously random doors in the middle of like a street. There's just a doorway, and that's what it's going to be about. But he does some gorgeous looking animation stuff where you're like, We need every cell of this in a museum. Quit putting all this weird stuff in art museums. Let's put this movie in a museum. It's just gorgeous looking stuff.
Yeah. And I like the exaggeration of that you see in anime that takes that something that you would have seen in like Looney Tunes where they exaggerate different facial features and different things, but then they're taking it into a more serious style, and so you get different character development out of it. And I that's the artist in me just appreciates what I see in that, and that's like I said, that's easy to draw me, and it's the shiny thing to me that I'm like that would be like, oh, I'll watch that.
Exactly.
So, pop culture mechanic says CalArts style is garbage. Who is CalArts?
California School of Arts.
Oh, okay.
Here, let me see if I can find an example. Are you familiar with like anything currently on
I'm probably
like
not
Cartoon Network or something?
No, I haven't watched Cartoon Network in like 15 years.
CalArts is probably why that is. Here. Pop. This sort of bubbly, big-eyed, smiley, dopey mouth.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. It comes across as tired. It comes like or lazy. Lazy is the word I'm looking for.
I feel like it grew out of Flash animation. It's like, what's the simplest shapes I can draw so that I can then move forward? Because people watched or read some book on how like Yogi Bear's tie was developed so that they could have his head move and his body move, and there would be a dividing mark. So if his body wasn't moving, it wouldn't look weird when his head was moving. And they're like, oh, I'll find simple tricks and cheats to do that. And so we had a lot of like Flash animation that would just make a bunch of shapes that moved. And the CalArts style sort of feels like the next level
Everything's
of
a
that.
short. Every part of the animation is a shortcut.
Exactly.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Like some things you need to do just for the practicality of you're drawing a lot of frames, a lot of cells for this.
Yeah, let in-betweens be weird and quick. They're in-betweens. Your eye can't even blink that fast. It's okay.
Yeah.
But
Then
if
yeah,
it's like
that's
your whole character model, then let's let's take some
yeah, you
time
can
on
have a
it.
simply drawn character. Like there's nothing complex about the way that Johnny Bravo or Dexter's laboratory characters are drawn. They still have they still have some sort of style. Or what was it?
Just a
Samurai Jack
distinct look. Yeah.
was that was one of the reasons why Samurai Jack was so great for me when I was in high school, was because the artwork was different, but it was good in its way, right? And
Oh yeah.
the action was also that.
Samurai Jack's a weird one because they don't outline.
Yeah,
And
no, that
I
was what
didn't
was so cool about
I
it.
didn't realize it when I was a kid watching it, at my grandma's house. It wasn't until like I got older and like watched a video. It was like Samurai Jack doesn't have outlines, and I was like, wait a minute. Like,
Yeah, this
how do
changes
you color it in without an outline?
Yeah, no, because I remember, I think they were doing some promo on it right before Samurai Jack aired, like when they were doing the build up and everything.
Okay.
And that's one of the things they said. And when I saw the animation, I was like, that's really cool. I was like, I love how they do that. And it's if you look for there is an art in how you do things. And if it makes it simple, then it's simple. But if you're taking shortcuts, you're not actually creating art. You're just creating a story that you're using cartoons as a vehicle for it instead of creating art alongside your story.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, we're about an hour and a half. So that's a good stream here. So
that is a good long stream.
yeah, that's a good.
I did a
And I had a lot of
5-hour
people.
stream on Thursday.
I'm not gonna do ever those things ever.
Wednesday.
The only time I'll do that is if I don't have to work. If I become independently wealthy, if I get the FU money, then maybe I'll spend some time streaming. I thought about because I hadn't played Cyberpunk.
The game 2077
because it sounded like it was such a disaster when it launched and everything.
It was.
And then
let no one tell you different. It was awful.
Yeah, we had a buddy me in our chat group that was like he was talking it up and talking it up and talking up. He was so excited that it was coming out and finally came out. It was such a disaster. We gave him so much grief about it. And then, but then recently, I came back to it and he was, and a couple of people said, no, it's gotten much better. They've fixed a lot of the problems. It's a much better product now. And so now I told him, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna hate play it. So
Yeah,
I
there you
bought it.
go.
I was like, I bought it for $12 because it's worth $12 for me to play it and harass you about how bad it is the whole time I play it. And so I'll be doing that. Thought about streaming that, but then I'm like, no. Sometimes I like playing to a degree, I like playing my games. Any game with a real narrative, I like playing it to myself. So maybe
yeah, I get that. I
I
did a
can't.
Let's Play for a while, so like I played Silent Hill 2 for the first time in that streaming format. So maybe I'm just more used to it, but like something like Heavy Rain that like literally is like watching a movie, I could see that being very not play it online kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was a different like the Gundam, like you play Gundam sometimes on there or playing
Yep.
Halo multiplayer or something like that. That's different. But when I'm going through the story, it's kind of like,
You're trying to listen.
I don't need to feel like there's a whole bunch of people watching me watch a story as
And
opposed
they
to
all
just me
judge you.
watching me
They
play.
all judge you. Oh, look how much you suck. Look how
I
bad
know
you are.
Why do you always pick the good option? Because that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I always want my guy to do the right thing because I want to do the right thing. Final Fantasy 11 is the only game worth playing online.
Wait a minute, I haven't been to a Catholic mass in a while. How do I read Roman numerals?
Well, at first I didn't see the one after it, so I was like, Final Fantasy 10? I was like, you picked that one out of all of them? I really want them to hurry up and start churning out these Final Fantasy 7 remake games so that I can keep playing them.
And another. We'll just keep remaking the same game and
look,
they'll keep buying.
To me, Final Fantasy 7's a great intro is the first part when you're in Midgar. But it doesn't get great until after you get out of Midgar and you're out on your own. And that's when the game goes from being linear, which is what the remake really was. I was not happy at first with how the remake was gameplay wise. Visual wise, I loved it.
Yeah.
But
did you play 14?
No.
Okay.
Last one I played was
it felt like 14 in the gameplay, so I think that's sort of what 14 or 15, whichever one has the Chocobros in it, had that very sort of like active turn-based. And it was like, this is really strange, but I got used to that,
I really like the battle system in Final Fantasy 7. And I thought it was not as good but still great in Final Fantasy 10. And Final Fantasy 8, 9 and all those other ones. I like them, but
14 was the MMO. Okay, then 15 is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't like the act. To me, it's like if I'm in Final Fantasy, that in my head, it's more of a turn base. So,
gotcha.
But yeah. All right. Well, everybody who showed up, Neo's got some video game opinions. We need to get him. We need to do some more video game talk. Get him involved in.
There we go.
In this chat.
I'll call him Neo Geo Rice for now on.
I don't cry to the story, Nico. All right, don't cry.
I weep,
but it's deep. I cry in front of people, and I weep to myself. I got news for you.
I love it. Oh my goodness.
Guts theme starts playing in the background.
Yep.
Started singing. I started doing the yelling part or the singing part with the started doing that in the car.
It's terrifying.
My wife did. First off, she doesn't know what it's about. Why she's just like, stop whatever you're doing right now, because I do it just to be obnoxious.
Yep.
She is a saint for putting up with me because I just do stuff that I know people will just find completely making people completely miserable, but I don't do it with people who aren't forced to be with me 24 hours like she is. So
yeah, she signed up for it.
Exactly. All right, so thank you, Blaine, for coming on. anytime
very
you want to
fun.
come on, just let me know. And we'll talk about whatever, especially on these chill streams. Peter Venkman fan site, Neo Rice, Nico. Let me get down the list. Pop Culture Mechanic, thanks for showing up and contributing. Mr. Scott J87, Serranos, some new folks here. Nernath, who probably got bored by all this discussion about anime and all this
We didn't
nerd
talk
stuff.
about
Just checked
pronunciation enough for him.
Alex Moore. I was listening to your chat. I think Alex Moore's got some transportation, and he does something along the lines of
I
transportation.
think he's at a dock.
Okay.
Like a delivery dock.
Okay.
In the Bible Belt.
Who else?
Getting whipped.
It's not how that works. Dresden, Wild Weeb, and Nico's Alt XLI 24. All right, everybody.
Better be subbed. Better drop the like as well.
You better be subbed to me. You better be subbed to Blaine. You better be liking, subscribing, getting in touch with locals, getting on Discords, and doing all the stuff that we've told you before. If you like the stream, if you didn't like the stream, just do it anyway, because we'll make you like it. You watch until the beatings will continue until morale improves. So
the streams will continue until the likes arrive.
until I get what I want. So, but everybody, have a very good weekend. Have a safe weekend. We'll get back up on this on Monday. We'll start talking about the nonsense that is Saul in the Old Testament and all the stupid decisions that he makes. So, but yeah. So, everybody have a very good night and God bless.
Compa.